Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 363. My name is Brad Rowland, and I'm joined on this Wednesday evening by my good friend Scott Coleman. Scott, we've been saying it every few days, and it's still true. The Braves have not lost a series yet this season. How are you?
Hello, Brad. I am doing well for that reason exactly. The boys have continued to win baseball games, and sure, these first 3 weeks now, there have been a couple of hiccups in the road, but for the most part, the Atlanta Braves are playing as good of baseball as basically anybody in the league. And another just really fun, enjoyable game on Wednesday night to take the series against Miami. It's just been a lot of positives, a couple of negatives along the way, but honestly, it's hard to find much to gripe about at this point in the calendar.
Absolutely. And just so we say it at the top of the show, we are the Hammer Territory podcast. We are part of the Foul Territory network of podcasts. And there are 3 episodes already this week. One that has myself and Scott from Sunday night, and then also a pair of shows from Stephen Tolbert and new dad, Sean Coleman, the last couple days. And with that said, let's waste no more time. Let's mix it up. Engineered by our friends at Fastenal. Okay, Scott, it's been a fun season to date, as we just alluded to. The Braves are 12-7. Good vibes. It hasn't been immaculate, but it's been very strong. In fact, usually a good indicator of success is run differential. Is it a little bit noisy after 19 games? Certainly it is. But the Braves are number one in Major League Baseball, as we record this podcast on Wednesday night, in run differential, and I would say almost more importantly, number one in runs scored for a team that we talked about all winter long, has to score runs. And on a Jackie Robinson day, celebratory day across baseball, Braves go out and get a win, and they never trailed. And it's always nice to have that to wrap up a series and also do it in kind of a different way. They did it with run prevention in this particular game, but the offense has been fantastic, and the run prevention's been better than expected.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that people and fans can have questions about the validity of this really good start for the pitching staff, in particular the starting rotation, and just how good is this rotation going to be moving forward. It's been excellent the first 3 weeks, but there are some legit questions that we all should still have moving forward. That being said, this lineup looks very legit, and you talk about some of the players who were unexpected heroes, Dom Smith, Mauricio Dubon, even Ozzie Albies, who was coming off a down year, has been fantastic from a production standpoint. This offense looks very legit, and you still haven't really seen full capital letters Austin Riley, full capital letters Ronald Acuna Jr., Michael Harris has been off to a slow start, and in theory you're going to be getting healthier in a few weeks with Murphy and Kim coming back. So this offense especially, it feels legit, it feels real every single night, and every night they've done a really good job of putting pressure on the opposing pitcher and really making them work. And obviously it's not going to work every single night. You're not going to go undefeated, but every night the offense, for the most part, has given the team a real chance to win.
It really has. And we'll get into the game tonight on Wednesday even more, but I have to just mention and build off what you said a second ago about Dom Smith. Our guys celebrated that victory last night, but go ahead and build the Dom Smith statue right now. I'll sign off. Take my money. I'll pay for it. Whatever you need to do.
We're going to change the podcast name from Hammer Territory to Dom Smith Territory pretty soon here. Because what a year! What a story! Just awesome.
Yeah, listen to the show last night for more on that. But that was crazy. So you pulled the stat. I'll give you the credit for it. But the Braves, needed 26 games last year to win their 12th game, and that was with kind of a hot streak after the 0-7 start. They kind of had their one hot streak of the season after that, but 12-7 is a lot better than 12-14. And as we'll talk about later on in this podcast, the schedule does get a little bit more difficult. They have a showdown for the first time, like a bold letter series coming up this weekend with Philadelphia. That's always one to look at, but it's been fun. And I gotta say, you mentioned I would say, discourse going on about the starting rotation. I'll poke fun at him because he poked fun at himself. Ken Segura of the AJC wrote a piece that got it dunked on a little bit yesterday. I like Ken. I know Ken a little bit. It was just a kind of funny timing, and it was a little bit early to declare victory in the rotation. But Bryce Elder, man, the timing's been good enough for you and I, in particular, on the show to be able to celebrate Bryce Elder a few times. Bryce Elder is pitching fantastic. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. I mean, we'll talk about the details, but we got a question that I'm sure was a joke, but was like, too early to talk about Cy Elder tonight that was addressed to you and I. I mean, no, it's not. I mean, he's not going to win this Cy Young, I don't think. But Bryce Elder has been full stop good through 4 starts, and that continued today with another 5 2/3 of shutout baseball. And on a night when the Braves offense picked it up late, it was a close, low scoring game for a long time. And when the other team has a zero in the run column, that's a hat tip to the starting pitcher.
Bryce was really working the bottom half of the zone tonight. He had his sinker working, he had the slider working. I mean, it was really impressive. And I think it's fair to say, coming off of his worst start of the year against Cleveland, it's like, okay, like, where is the real Bryce Elder? Is he the nearly perfect guy that he was in his first 2 starts? Is he going to be more of the guy who labored in his third start? And Elder was really good against I think pesky is how I would call the Miami Marlins. Just a pesky lineup, not a ton of big names, but a group that really put together some good at bats over these past 3 games. Really good job of going the other way and putting the ball in play. But, 5 2/3 for Bryce, 4 hits, no runs, only 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts, which is really a good sign for him. The strikeout ball has been working for Bryce early in the year, and 0.77 ERA through 4 starts for one Bryce Elder. That is a massive, massive development.
Yeah, the slider's been great. I mean, he's been using it more than he ever has, and it's been effective. 40% of the time, like what the pitching plan, you got to give credit to not just Bryce, but the pitching staff, the pitching, the support staff. He's reworked his offerings. He's added an extra pitch, but also just, he's never going to be the super elite stuff guy. But if you have a pitch or two that you can go to regularly and you lean on it, and I'll never claim to be a pitching expert, but he's changed his profile enough to where it does feel maybe not sustainable to this, but even with a 0.77 ERA through 4 starts, his FIP's in the twos. I think it's like 2.8, something like that. That's much more indicative of probably what he's doing, but that's really good. Like I say, it's not like you could poo-poo that. So
Oh, yeah.
I think there'll be some regression in the ERA. That's a very obvious statement to make, but under the hood, it has been not smoke and mirrors in the way you might have guessed. If you told me Bryce Elder was going to have a 4 start stretch with an ERA under 1, I'd be like, hey, what was the BABIP allowed? Like, I would assume it was kind of fluky. It's been a little fluky because it has to be when it's that low, but he's just pitching well. Capital W well.
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you a hypothetical. Tomorrow, the Braves have to win a game, and you can either give the ball to Bryce Elder, Ronaldo Lopez, or Grant Holmes based on what you have seen this first month of the season. I mean, if you would have asked us a month ago, I wouldn't have even thought about putting Elder in the conversation. But I mean, he's pitched. He's been the second best. I mean, honestly, you can make a case that Bryce has been the best starting pitcher on this team, even better than Chris Sale. Obviously, he's not better than Chris Sale, but it's the fact we're having this conversation. And again, it's 3 weeks into the year. We can't just make any definitives on April 15th. But yeah, it looks good, and it feels, even in the past, Bryce has had success, but it was like, okay, he only had 3 strikeouts tonight, or okay, he gave up a lot of hard contact and it was just right at people. So far, through 4 starts, it's felt more real, and with every passing start where Bryce throws the ball well, it's like, okay, maybe this is who he's going to be moving forward.
Yeah, you mentioned it, but the 23 strikeouts in 23 and a third innings, that's not what he was doing. Even when he had the famous stretch when he was pitching at a all-star, he made the all-star team. It wasn't that. It was not like he was missing bats the way he has been so far in this first couple weeks of the season. To answer your question, I think I probably would still go with not Bryce Elder, but it's a lot closer than it would have been between Elder, Holmes, and Lopez. So yeah, hats up to Bryce. Oh, we got a question, actually more than one question, about why he only threw 79 pitches today, because usually guy has a zero in the run column. I get it. It's a very natural question to ask. It didn't bother me. It was kind of a natural point to get him out of the game, I thought. But what do you make of that? And like, my takeaway was basically like, hey, they're still treating him like he's not a top of the line pitcher as far as how they are using him, which I think is the right approach. But what did you make of him coming out before he got to 80 pitches despite the zero in the run column?
I thought it was the right call in the moment by Walt Weiss. Even though he had not given up a run, he had loaded the bases in a previous inning, and Miami was starting to make a little bit of harder contact. Bryce had labored a little bit through the third and fourth inning, so I'm good with it. And I don't know if Walt is always going to be this aggressive, but right now he's got a pretty fresh bullpen and he's not afraid to use it. And especially the big 5 or 6 in the bullpen has been fantastic. So I thought it was the right moment to take Bryce out of the game, and credit to Dylan Lee for getting out of a mini jam.
If you're going to pay what the Braves pay for their bullpen, which is a lot of money, you should be willing to use it. And they have been willing to use it thus far. All right, Scott. In a second, we'll dive into some of the other fun goings on from Wednesday. But first, let's discuss our friends at Fastenal. Fastenal, industrial supplies, innovative solutions. If you want to learn more, visit fastenal.com. Scott, the Braves had a relatively breezy victory on this Wednesday. We just discussed Bryce Elder and his heroics in this one, but the offense also did its job. 6 runs is usually going to be enough to win. That's a positive sign across the board. It began offensively with Ozzie Albies hitting a home run. Even as resident Ozzie Albies apologist, which I will anoint myself right now on this podcast, I've always been a little higher on Ozzie than most people. He's been a little fortunate, according to his batted ball data this season. A lot of blue on that StatCast page. I'm not ignoring that at all, but he has an OPS over 800 and a 124 WRC plus so far. So, hey, that's banked. That's in the bank. Same thing as Bryce Elder. The results are the results. And if you can put together 3.5 weeks of that, if you're Ozzie Albies, cool. Because later on, maybe he'll regress. But it was nice to see him hit another home run in this one, and has had at least some flashes of being closer to the old Ozzie Albies in the results column.
I think the most encouraging thing for Ozzie is that of his homers, and he has quite a few this year in the early going, I think all but one of them have come from the left side of the plate, which is, of course, the inferior side of his platoon split as a switch hitter. I think on opening day, actually, Ozzie had his one and only homer against a lefty, but all the others, I believe, have come against righties. And that's a good sign. And obviously, Ozzie Albies is a player who needs power. He's always been a slug-first second baseman, and we love him for that. And sure, there are some things under the hood that make you wonder how much Ozzie's going to be able to sustain it, but the power is back, especially after he broke that bone at the end of last season. I think everybody held their breath a little bit, but in the early going, Ozzie's been really good. He's been putting together good at bats, putting the ball in play, and is hitting for power, which is really a good sign.
Absolutely. And another guy who homered in this game, Austin Riley. I feel like we talk about Austin all the time, and I get why. He is a guy with a star level contract who has not performed that way and all those things we talk about all the time. But he had a home run today, his first of the season, which is even more notable than it would be normally. And also homered in his next at bat as well. So that's a good sign. He's been clearly looking better, at least to me. I don't know if you agree with that or not. He looks like he's getting more comfortable. But I'll give this hat tip to Mark Bowman, who had this stat. I'm not sure it means that much, but it's interesting to kind of contemplate. Austin did not hit a home run in 2021 until his 17th game of the season. Today was the 19th game of the season. In 2021, he had a 5-win season. Now, that does not mean he's going to have a 5-win season this year, but it is he's done this before. And famously, Austin has always been really streaky. So I'm not saying you write off the first 3 weeks, because I'm not doing that personally, but he is capable of having a hot streak that will make everybody like kind of exhale a little bit. Perhaps tonight with a homer and a near homer could be the start of something positive, but we'll see. What do you make of Austin and the experience as of April 15th?
It's felt like Austin's been really close the last couple of games, and even if the results aren't there, his at-bats have been better. He's seen a lot of pitches and really worked the count. He does have a bit of an infield fly ball problem. That's been kind of a challenge, and we don't want to see Austin popping balls to the second baseman and shortstop. We want to see him driving the baseball, and it was good to see him. He turned on that homer against a lefty where he's really been effective over his career, and then in the next at bat, he almost hit it out to right center field, which everybody knows when Austin is going right, he is launching that baseball to right center field for power. So really good signs. If this is the beginning of a big time run from Austin, we've seen this guy carry the lineup for weeks on end when he gets going. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure he looked like a man in that dugout who was like, thank God I finally got one of these homers. His teammates very clearly were excited for him and probably giving him a little bit of a hard time too. Like, hey, you finally got one. But really good for Austin. Good signs the last few games, and hopefully he's able to keep this going.
Yeah, and I noticed, not even today, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I was looking this up, and I believe it's still the case now. He's running career best walk and strikeout rates for the season. Now, it's a small sample size. I also don't know if that's even good. I mean, it's not bad. I'm a fan of, in general, you want to have more walks and less strikeouts. But I don't know if the less strikeouts is a good thing for Austin necessarily. I think he almost needs to strike out sometimes for his power. But under the hood, like it's not inherently bad that he's walking more and striking out less. He has 9 walks and 14 strikeouts for the season. Cool. And that's kind of maybe there's probably some Tim Hires influence in there. Hires is certainly much more of a patience guy. But I just noticed that in the early going when the power wasn't there and the numbers weren't coming, I'm like, I wonder if what this means other than it being 3 weeks and maybe some noise in there, but more walks, less strikeouts, approach
Yeah.
changes. We'll see.
Yeah. And by and large, this offense has done a terrific job working the count, getting on base, drawing walks, and just really making the opposing starting pitcher work. Like that's been a pretty common theme in the first 3 weeks is how many times have the Braves forced the starting pitcher out in the fourth or fifth inning? It's been pretty few and far between where the starter's out there through the sixth or seventh inning. Really just a good job 1 through 9. And if Austin can be part of that and just keep the line moving the way that some of the guys around him are hitting, it's only going to make this offense, which has been really, really good so far, that much more dangerous.
For sure. We saw some of that in the seventh inning. The Braves kind of broke the game open and put the game away, really, with a 3-run inning in the seventh. Ronald Acuna hits a double that was fielding aided, I believe is the note that you added in our documents. It's true. Then Drake Baldwin is fantastic. He singles, and then Matt Olson absolutely mashes a 2-run homer. Matt Olson, I mean, I know I'm not the right messenger for this, but Matt Olson is really good at baseball. Like he's been really good again. Like kind of, I mean, not that anyone's saying he's been bad, but hasn't been a ton of Matt Olson buzz. Like I mean, early in the season it was all about Drake, which was certainly justifiable. He was out of his mind to begin the season, and it's like more focus on Austin, like what he's not doing and what Ronald's not doing. Sometimes he's been better lately and all that stuff. Ronald's been unlucky. Matt Olson just like shows up to the ballpark and rolls out of bed with a 970 OPS, and it's just like, oh, Matt Olson, cool.
Yeah, Matt's been fantastic. And honestly, I mean, shame on us on this podcast. We probably haven't given Matt enough of his flowers the first couple of weeks here, but I mean, he leads all of Major League Baseball at the time of this recording with 14 extra base hits, and his home runs have not been cheapies. I mean, he's launching them.
No.
He had that ball to the top of the chop house over the weekend. He is just crushing the baseball, a 982 OPS and a 167 WRC plus for Matt in the early going. That puts him easily in the top 15 or so across all of Major League Baseball. But yeah, it really looks good. Matt looks fantastic, and hopefully this is just a sign of things to come. And sure, maybe he's not going to hit his lofty standards of 2023, where he had a career year across the board. But I mean, at least so far, it's looked like he at least has a chance to get close to those numbers. And I mean, obviously, he was fourth in MVP voting that year. I mean, that was about as good of a season as you can have.
As of the recording, like you said, 10:30 p.m. ish on Wednesday night, both Olson and Baldwin are in the top 25 of all Major League Baseball in home runs and OPS. So they're both basically playing at a superstar level, and that's been backed up. But yeah, shouts to Matt. He's been awesome. Biggest, probably not the most win probability swing because they were already up big in the game, but he kind of ended the game pretty much with that swing. I say that there was a half of a beat in the inning to follow where the Braves were giving up some runs where people were probably a little bit nervous. Shouts to Osvaldo Bido. Am I right?
He,
I got,
I don't
I
know.
got a text from Scott that was funny about this, by the way, in the middle of the game.
Yeah, I got to say, man, a few things probably drive a big league manager more crazy than you're in. Maybe not like a full on blowout, but you're comfortably ahead 6-0.
You're up
You,
6. Yeah.
yeah, you're up 6. You have a flight against the Phillies on the horizon. Day off tomorrow. You just want to get through the game and get the win. And Beto just did not have it. Gave up a 2-run homer and then allowed more base runners on. I don't know if he's not with the team on Friday in Philadelphia, I would not be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, there was the big double play by Dubon in the fifth that was a big swing. But the Braves have some crazy double play numbers. I mean, you pulled this. I don't know where you were more dialed into this than I was, but they're number one in baseball in double plays. And what's the streak at right now of games consecutively in double
16,
plays?
yes, 16 straight games with a double play, which is their longest streak since 1985. That's a long time ago.
I'm an old person and I wasn't born then. So what does that tell you about how long ago it was? I was born shortly thereafter, to be fair, but long time. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not even sure what else to add about the end. They had to bring in Robert Suarez. There was a kind of a interesting play where Dubon, who's been on the short list of awesome heroes so far this season, made kind of a weird mistake throwing the ball to second base. He didn't need to. If Suarez gives up the home run there, people talk about that for a long time. It didn't matter now because it's kind of a footnote in the 3-run victory. And
Yeah.
you and I, every time I feel like Robert Suarez pitches right now, you and I exchange texts to say that guy's absurd every time he comes to the game
Yeah.
because he is.
Suarez has been great. Raisel Iglesias almost threw a immaculate perfect inning in the ninth. He
Yep,
was 6 pitches, 2 outs. I was like, holy smokes. He looked like a man who knew he wanted an immaculate inning and unfortunately couldn't quite get it. I think he needed all of 10 pitches to get through it. But Iglesias has been fantastic. Suarez has been fantastic. I mean, again, the big end of the bullpen has been really, really strong. And, you mentioned the kind of I don't know if boneheaded is the right word for Dubon, but just kind of a gaff. Probably should have just gone to first base in that situation. But Mauricio had a massive 6-3 double play earlier in the game, bases loaded. Kind of felt like the wheels were falling off a little bit for Bryce Elder, and made a fantastic play to field the ball, step on the bag, and fire over a throw that just beat the runner. It was overturned on replay. So yeah, I mean, Mauricio Dubon has been a godsend for this team, and other than that little mistake in the eighth inning, he has been nearly perfect since coming over.
100%. And Iglesias has done a lot of run all season. Not a huge sample. I think it's 7 appearances, but he's been awesome. And it's nice to turn over the game to that double-barreled closing duo the Braves have at the end of the bullpen. Okay, Scott, we're going to preview the big showdown between the Braves and the Phillies, which is on its way beginning on Friday. We'll get to that and more after a word from our partners on today's show.
Kratz, the world has a cord problem, wires everywhere. It's 2026, and it is time to get a
Ridge Wallet 5-in-1. It's not a wallet, it's a charger. Look at this thing. It sticks to your phone. You push the button, it charges your phone while you can charge 2 different items at the same time. Oh, and don't forget, while it's charging, you got a little lean-to, John. That'll help it sit right there. Appreciate your Ridge Wallet. This is so nice.
which is great for me. If I'm at the airport and I'm watching a game, I can charge 5 devices and then I can just watch something on the phone. Of course, they still have the wallets that are money too. And we know the code. It's nice and simple. It's FOUL, FOUL. One thing to pack, 5 ways to power. You can find Ridge's power bank at Best Buy, or our listeners can get 10% off at ridge.com by using code FOUL at checkout. Head to ridge.com, use code FOUL, and you're all set. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support FT and tell them we sent you.
Scott, the Braves have an off day on Thursday. Always nice for those of us that like to do something else in our lives other than watch baseball every single time that baseball's on, which is fine. And by the way, we're hoping to have a podcast. We have a guest lined up. I never want to spoil the guest, but if all comes to fruition, we'll have a podcast tomorrow night in basically in place of the game. So baseball never stops.
There you
With
go.
that said, the Braves have a showdown Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Philadelphia. Now, they did play the Marlins, which is their first NL East showdown of the season. This is the first big one, though, because Philadelphia and New York are still the rivals. The Marlins are playing fine baseball, but it's still the Phillies and the Mets until we hear otherwise as far as the division is concerned. And we actually got a little bit of news heading in, and it's a kind of a 2-day news cycle. So Martin Perez, if anybody missed this, was DFA'd. He cleared waivers. He was outrighted and then elected to sign back with the Braves. So essentially, Martin signed a minor league contract. As of this moment, I don't think he's been recalled to the major leagues, but Walt Weiss confirmed post game tonight that he's going to start on Friday. So all that drama about Martin and passing through waivers. In the end, it was just like, oh, I'm going to pitch again in my next slot, essentially. And the Braves could have gone with Chris Sale on Friday. They had the off day. We talked about this earlier this week. They could have gone all the way till the 21st without a fifth starter. But instead, they're doing what they have often done with the last couple of seasons with Sale and others, and give everybody an extra day. What do you make of that decision, number one, and also number two, having Perez just basically slot right back into where he was supposed to? Because, there was a wave of, oh, maybe we'll see Fuentes, maybe we'll see Richie. No, you will not. You will see Martin Perez.
Yeah, kind of a bummer. I was holding out a little bit of hope that Didier or JR were going to be called up to make a start here soon with the big league team. I was not shocked to see that Martin Perez had reworked the deal and had come back to the Braves. He's been okay. The stuff is very boring, very average, but he's a veteran. He can eat innings for you. And I think it's only a matter of time. I think especially once Spencer Strider comes back, I think Perez will probably get the boot or maybe go to the bullpen is actually where I think he'll ultimately end up. Yeah, so sure. I mean, was I hoping for Didier Fuentes on Friday night in Philadelphia in a big time division game? I think that certainly would have been more fun. But I'm not a crazy person. I didn't expect that Perez was never going to be seen or heard from again.
I'm not a crazy person, says Scott
Maybe,
Coleman.
yeah, says the crazy person.
No, I'm with you. Obviously, it'd be more exciting if it was not Martin Perez, but I'm fine with this. I mean, as soon as he passes through, you should sign him to a minor league contract. So that for me was a no-brainer. If he's available and willing to sign a minor league deal, go ahead and do it. Him pitching Friday, it's fine with me. I'm not, but look, and he's also been totally fine. He's got a 3.14 ERA and about a FIP of about 4 in 14 innings. If he does that, no one should complain. Like if he does that, then I'm thrilled. Whether he'll actually do that or not, up for debate. We'll see. Of note, the Braves also faced the Phillies' worst starter on Friday. By the way, Philadelphia, while we're here, they're 8-10 with like a -25 run differential. They got waxed the last two nights by the Cubs.
I had a great trivia question for you, and I'll pose it to the listeners as well. But all right, what team in the National? No, you did kind of cheat, but don't spoil it for everybody else. What team in the National League has the worst run differential?
Drum roll, please. It's not the Phillies. So
it is the San Francisco Giants, actually, who are just miserable. I don't know what's going on there. The Giants are worst at -27. Second worst, the Philadelphia Phillies. -25. Buddy, I gotta look into a way to listen to Philadelphia talk radio because I mean Twitter, that place is burning down, and I can only imagine what talk radio in Philly sounds like these days.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean same with the Braves the other direction. Blowouts can really skew things this time of year, but the Phillies just went back-to-back days when they lost 21-6 combined to the Cubs.
Damn.
They got rocked. It was 11-2 and 10-4 back-to-back.
And the Cubs had been struggling too before that. I mean, Chicago was not some unstoppable force before that.
And it was at home in Philadelphia, which, that's only a small thing, but it matters. So I know you and I were a little bit lower on the Phillies coming into the season than some were. We both picked them third, if I recall correctly, on our final predictions before the season started. They've been below what I thought they would be so far, and nothing's ever assured. I mean, the Braves is still a showdown. You're on the road in Philadelphia. You could still lose the series, all those things. But I've taken a little bit of glee in the Phillies not playing particularly well so far. Anyway, Martin Perez is facing Taijuan Walker, who at one point was good, I have to say. At this point, probably isn't. You look under the hood, it's not good. He's been bad. Peripheral numbers, ugly. Actual numbers, ugly. Recent track record, not great. So if there was a game in this series where you would feel best about Martin Perez taking the mound, it probably is against Taijuan Walker.
Yeah, that's probably some of the Braves' calculation here too. Of, you throw your worst, we'll throw our worst, and we'll see how it goes. But the other two pitching matchups are really, really good. Saturday night on Big Fox, you have Chris Sale against Christopher Sanchez, who, like out of nowhere, has turned into one of the best, not just lefties in baseball, but one of the better pitchers in baseball. They tore up his old contract and gave him a new one, which never happens in the major leagues. He was on a team-friendly deal, and the Phillies ripped that deal up. So Sale against Chris Sanchez is really, really good. And then Sunday night is another primetime game. Grant Holmes against young Phillies standout Andrew Painter. That's NBC? Is that the NBC Peacock game again?
I don't believe it's actually on full NBC. So, for a while, because of basketball, NBC isn't always full national NBC on Sunday nights. They have some of those games are on
Ah,
Peacock, and I
okay.
believe this is a Peacock game on Sunday night. If you here's a life hack for you. If you are a YouTube TV subscriber, which I personally am, they have NBC Sports Network, which carries Peacock games. So check that. But regardless, make a plan for Sunday night. We always do this for Apple TV games. You want to make sure you have the channel on Sunday night for the Braves. If you don't have Peacock, explore that. If you have Peacock, you're good. But yeah, keep an eye on that one. Saturday night's is really the big showdown this weekend because it's the pitching matchup and also the fact that it's on Big Fox. And man, I just looked this up. Christopher Sanchez has an ERA of like 2.4 for the last year and a half. Like that guy is
Yeah.
absurd. He's really
He's
good.
really good. Philly's pitching development has been really good over the years. And I mean, he is the latest prime example of that. He is awesome.
Yeah, and Andrew Painter is also a young stud. So those two games are real challenges. Obviously, with Chris Sale on the mound, I feel good against literally anyone in the world. Sunday, a little bit less so. It's Grant Holmes. He'll be fine, but we'll see how that goes. Also, shouts to friend of the podcast, CJ Nikowski, who was on the show only 2 weeks ago at this point. He is actually in the Peacock booth. So if you didn't know this, NBC is doing this odd thing this year where they pair Jason Benetti, their play-by-play guy, with rotating, literally every week is going to have a different partner this time. And it's always one from each team. Wasn't it Andrew Jones? Who was it? Was it Andrew
Yeah,
Jones?
Andrew Jones and Corey Kluber and CC Sabathia. They were not the great. I think former players. It's tough, man, just to put on a headset and immediately call a game.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done.
And Benetti's awesome in his job, so that's helpful. But
Yeah.
it's CJ this time. So he's obviously a seasoned broadcaster. And John Kruk, who's been doing it for a long time. John Kruk is a polarizing personality, but entertaining.
I
would
love
say.
John Kruk. Yeah, I mean he'll
Yeah.
tell you how it is, and he's always. It's funny. I watch a decent amount of the road broadcast. I love the Braves broadcast, but sometimes it's nice, in the middle of a 3-game series, just to hear the other perspective on things. John Kruk is always very complimentary of the Braves, and I mean they fully know who ran this division for. I mean, frankly, the better part of 35 years at this point. So it's
Well, he
obviously
saw it up close.
he's a Philly to his core. But yeah, that's a great booth. Benetti is as good as there is for play-by-play, and then I think CJ is as good of color commentary as there is, and then I just talked about Kruk. I mean, that's a really good trio in the booth.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So lots of primetime games. I know you and I were exchanging texts today. Like it felt like it should have been a day game today, and it wasn't because they have the day off tomorrow. Same thing on Sunday. Like Sunday nights are always a little bit strange. I don't hate it. It's just always a little bit odd when it's not at 1:30 in the afternoon. But we'll have you covered. I can promise you that on this podcast. I think it'll probably be me and you at like 11 o'clock on Sunday night, just in our typical warm embrace. I'll be in a hotel somewhere, and it'll be just great content. Scott, anything else you want to get off your chest on this relatively short episode by our standards?
Well, I've got a few things. Number one, no.
You have grievances on this show. If you want to, no one's listening by this point. Go ahead.
Let me
Fire
go.
away.
Number one, what is going on with I got to say, the Braves are obviously playing really well. Another series win. Keep it rolling. They have a nice day off on Thursday, but they're in this midst of playing a ton of teams in the East. They have the Phillies, then they have the Nationals, and then they have the Phillies again. So you have a real opportunity now in the next couple of weeks to really put some early distance between yourself and the Philadelphia Phillies. The Mets have also been a mess. I follow a couple of Mets guys on Twitter, and they honestly, they sound a lot like we did a year ago with like, what is wrong with this baseball team? Why are we finding ways to lose? And why can nobody hit? And all that. So really good signs early for the Braves. Let's keep pushing this out. Let's keep building a division lead and see how far ahead you can get, and then hopefully ride that to the finish line.
Not to derail the end of the podcast, but the Mets are currently losing to the Dodgers as we're talking. If they lose that game, that will be their 8th consecutive loss. I didn't realize that until right now, to be honest.
Yeah,
so
I didn't either.
I knew it was going bad for the Mets, but as you said that, I said, let me see what their record is. Oh, they're 7-11 with 7 consecutive losses, and they're losing right now. So it might be 8 in
And
a couple hours. We'll see.
And even though they turned over like half of their roster this offseason, apparently the Mets clubhouse is just like in a bad place. And Francisco Lindor has a bunch of drama, and Juan Soto is hurt, and their pitching staff is not pitching. I mean, they're weird vibes for the Mets. I mean, again, I'll raise my hand. On paper, I like their roster a lot coming into the year, and it's still early. Like, to be fair, all it takes, yeah, you've lost 7 in a row, but sure, you can have a good couple of weeks and you're right back at it. But just weird vibes for the Mets. And as we said, the Phillies have been genuinely pretty bad. One of the worst teams in the National League so far, to be honest. A team that's getting older, a team that had a lot of things go right a year ago. Naturally, they're going to play 3 incredible baseball games this weekend and, you'd be diving for baseballs in the outfield and robbing home runs at the fence. But it is what it is. And hopefully Atlanta can just keep rolling because this has been a lot of fun so far.
Has been for sure. All right, Scott. People should be following Scott Coleman on the Twitter machine at ScottColeman55 for all of your Arizona sporting takes. And the Braves, follow me if you'd like to at BT Rowland. A lot of basketball on that feed, but some occasional baseball along the way right now, and more as the summer goes along. And more importantly, Hammer Territory on social media, and please subscribe to this show anywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. Ratings, reviews, comments. Tell your friends. We definitely appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. We will hope to have a show tomorrow. And as always, stay tuned, subscribe. We'll see you all next time.